Hi everyone, this is Dr. Leary. You should already have JASP installed on your computer, and you should already have your Excel file saved down to your computer. If not, you need to go back and watch the prior videos and install the software and download the Excel file. So the first thing that we need to do is make sure that our Excel dataset is saved in a file type that JASP can read. So what we're going to do is open Excel. So this is our data that we were using in the prior video. And we go up here to File, Save As, Desktop, and you will notice it says Excel Workbook. We're going to go down here to CSV, and you'll notice it's Save As Type, and then the name of your file. You click Save, and you don't really notice anything. That's okay. What will happen is when we go to open JASP in a second, it will be able to now read the file. So to open anything in JASP, go up here to the main menu, click Open, Computer, Desktop, and here is our data set. So you will notice that this data looks the same as what you saw in Excel. It should, it's the same data. But this time we're going to actually run some descriptives and get to know our data a little bit more. Before we run the descriptives, we want to pay attention to this information. That is a ruler, and JASP combines interval and ratio data into a single variable type called scale. It breaks apart ordinal and nominal data. You need to make sure you understand what the levels of measurement are so that you can make sure that your variable types are correct. Typically, JASP does a very good job of assigning a measurement type, but you will occasionally need to make some corrections, and when we encounter that, I will come back and show you what I mean. So in this case, we're going to click the Descriptives button. We're going to move gender identity over so that we can analyze it. We're going to look at age, how many pets people have, and let's look at favorite color. Now you will notice I was just talking about measurement type, and there's different examples here. These are rulers, they are scale, so they are either interval or ratio. We've got the charts. Those are ordinal, so there is an order to the variables, but they do not necessarily meet the requirements to be classified as interval. And then we've got this little Venn diagram, and we've got them over here. In those cases, it's nominal. The computer recognizes that it's nominal, and you can only run certain types of stats with that, or you're going to have problems. So we've got scale and nominal. Let's move relationship type over so that we have an ordinal. So if we click on the statistics section, mean and standard deviation are automatically checked. We can turn those off if we don't want them. There's lots of other boxes that you can check if you need them or your instructor tells you that you need to use them. JASP can do some basic charts, and we're going to do distribution plots to just be able to look and see what they look like. We also have tables. You want to check the frequency box tables, and we're going to come back and visit this in a few minutes, but for right now, just check the box and we're going to look at the results. So these are the variables we're going to look at. If you click this little arrow right here, we now see the results. Now, depending on how large your screen is, you may actually see the results and that window where you are moving items over to be analyzed. It depends on the size of your screen. In this case, it's telling us the variable names. There were 1,000 rows of data. All of these variables had an answer. If someone forgot to provide their age, this would not say 1,000, it might say 900, and then it would say we had missing data for 100 people. Something like that. The next one is mean. Now, this is where we have a problem. If you remember back to levels of measurement, you cannot calculate mean for nominal variables especially, and for most ordinal variables, a mean does not actually represent what you may think it means. It depends on the question that's being asked. But for general purposes, typically if it's ordinal or nominal, you're not going to use mean. Gender identity is nominal. There's no logical order to it. No answer option is better than the other. They're all equally important. So it's important to make sure that you are not reporting mean and standard deviation for a variable that is nominal or otherwise it's not appropriate. If you tell the computer to run stats on a variable that has numbers in it, the software will calculate mean, standard deviation, and other types of stats. That does not mean that it's correct. You, as the human, must decide what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. Make sure that you use your stats textbook, your research textbook, or other books that will help you make sure that you're using the right type of stats analysis for the type of data that you have. So what we're looking at here is the frequency tables. And in this case, we've got gender identity, and we've got numbers 1 through 4. But what do those numbers mean? So if you go back and look at your code book, remember, 1 is female, 2 is male, 3 is non-binary, and 4 is gender fluid. So that means that we have 540 female respondents, 410 male respondents, 29 non-binary respondents, and 21 gender fluid respondents. We also have the percentage. Now you'll notice we have two other types of percentages over here. Valid percent matches, in this case, the regular plain percent. If we had missing, these two columns would be different, because valid percent would not take into account the missing. Cumulative percent is exactly what it sounds like. It adds the current row to the prior row. So 54 plus 41, we get 95. Plus 2.9, we get 97.9. Plus 2.1, we get 100%. Yeah, simple. Now you'll notice right here, the following variables have more than 10 distinct values and are omitted. Age and favorite color. So it's not going to give us age or favorite color as a frequency table, unless we go back over to this one, show input options. We scroll down and we tell it we want to see more than 10 rows of information. So if we put 20 and then hit tab, let's go back and see if we can see it now. So age still has more than 20, which makes sense. Ages are going to range from 18 to more than 100, since we are surveying adults here. If you are collecting data about individuals who are under 18, then the range can be 0 to whatever the top age is you're collecting data about. But now that we can allow the number of rows to be up to 20 instead of 10, we do get favorite color as a table. So that shows here. And it gives us the information, the count, so how many people, and then the percentage. Similar to the other variables, it gives us the numbers, and so we're going to have to go to the code book and figure out what these numbers mean, and then the usual percentages. Now we marked distribution plots, and I told y'all that the charts, the tables, they're very basic in JASP, and so this is what the chart looks like for gender identity. You can tell the vast majority of people are female, followed by male, and then non-binary and gender fluid. For age, this is our age range. Looks like it's probably 18 to maybe up to about 85. And then each column represents a group of the ages. Yes and no for pets. And this is one of the problems with JASP, and this is why I do not use the JASP charts when I am reporting my findings. I will make a chart in Excel instead. You'll notice that the colors are hard to read because they overlap, And so you have to try, oops, scroll back down. You can try to enlarge it a little bit, but it still doesn't help. It's just hard to read. So the charts in JASP, they're good for getting an idea of what's going on and visualizing your data, but you would not use these in a formal report or paper. You would take the information into Excel and make your charts that way, or you might have some other type of software that you can use to make charts. And then this is the relationship status one. We've got the mean and the standard deviation, which is appropriate for age. So even though we have that information for these other variables, we know that it's not appropriate. We would only use that for these. The minimum age is 18. The oldest person that responded was 88. So that's generally how you do descriptives. Now, if you know that you're going to be using this data a lot, and you want to make it a little bit easier to keep track of what these numbers mean, you can actually go in and tell JASP that you want it to give you the value name for the values. So if we click over here on Show Data, so for gender identity, it's nominal. And then if we double click on gender identity, and click it once to open this section and click it again to close it. So the values are listed here, and we're going to tell it that this should be female. And you'll notice it populates down here. And we want this one to be male. Non-binary. And gender fluid. And you can close it by clicking on it. And now we actually have words that we can interpret a little bit easier, and it saves you the step. If you're going to be using this data a good bit, it might be worth investing the time in doing that. So you'll notice female, male, non-binary, but for some reason it did not save gender fluid. So let's go back and fix that one. So make sure you hit the Tab button or the Enter button after you've entered your last label. Move the cursor to a different cell, something like that, so that it will actually remember what you typed in that last cell. So we click here, it closes, we go back over here and we look at our results, and you'll see gender fluid is showing up now. So that is one option you can do. For some of you, your instructor may tell you to go in and make those labels as part of your assignment. You just need to make sure that you're using the appropriate labels for the data set and the code book that you were given by your instructor for your assignment. So that's the basic information about running descriptives. Use your version of this data set and run the descriptives that I just walked you through, and run some of the other statistics. Look in the workbook that is in the JASP section of LibGuides. Download that book, and I give you a couple of assignment activities to help you better understand what it is you're looking at with this data set. Now keep in mind, when you're doing assignments for your instructor, for your coursework, make sure that you're using the data set your instructor gives you and that you're completing the assignment as your instructor has listed in the instructions that they give you. In the next couple of videos, we will look at additional statistical analysis that you can run. But for right now, practice with descriptives before moving forward.